It's our guest today, Metro Councilman Large Bob Mendes. We're talking about the proposal this week that a deal had been reached to build a $2.2 billion dome stadium on the East Bank. Bob, one thing I heard during the Monday news conference I'd not heard before, that somehow the NFL is going to have some money involved in this. What kind of money are we talking about, and what would it be for?
So I only know the very rough numbers, but I understand that for at least the last few major stadiums around the country, the NFL does chip in something to help the team build it. And I think they announced $800 million coming from the team, and like very, very roughly, my understanding is that the NFL might chip in $100 or $200 million of that, and the team would come up with the rest. I think mostly from personal seat license sales, and then the rest out of their own pocket.
Now, there are some other things that are part of this financing plan that the Titans are sort of picking up. One, there were bond payments still on the current stadium to be built, so that it was fully paid off. The Titans are going to pick those up. Also, there were going to be some required improvements, maintenance things to be done at the stadium. The Titans are going to pick that up, even though under the lease right now they could demand Metro pay for that. So those are good faith things the Titans are trying to do to say they want to move this along.
Sure. I mean, those two things add up to, I'll say, only $60 million or so. It's I don't want to say it's a rounding error on this, but it is maybe the least they could do, but I do appreciate it.
But it does appear with these changes we've been talking about, what the Titans are going to pick up, what the NFL's putting in, it's now the Titans and the NFL together that are going to be paying the largest share of building the stadium. In fact, most of the money will be coming for them and whatever is involved with the hotel-motel tax.
Well, I don't buy into the idea of treating the tax dollars from the state as separate from the tax dollars from the city. Tax dollars are the biggest piece of this. Tax dollars are over $1.2 billion, about 2/3 of the price. The private contribution is about 1/3 of it from the team.
Another key element of the stadium deal, at least long term, is what you're going to do with the sales tax that's generated by the various developments that are going to be built around that are going to be sort of football or at least event-related things going on over there. Are you concerned about the cash flow for that? Because we're not going to get those up and developing and producing a lot of sales tax right away. It's going to take months, if not years, before those are actually in place and generating money.
I mean, it's very premature to talk about what the bond payment would look like, but I'm assuming to deal with what you're talking about is the bond payment would be structured so they're relatively low in the early years and then ramp up after sales tax revenue increases.
In one of your earlier meetings of your council task force committee meeting, there have been concerns raised again about the East Bank. Back in the 2010 flood, the entire Nissan Stadium was completely flooded at that point. I think it's being moved a little bit, but are there concerns about flooding with this new development at this point, or have you seen the sort of the geographics of that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are concerned. I just put it really bluntly. There's a reason why there's nothing very old built on the east bank of the river for the most of the time that since white folks showed up in this area. It's been a floodplain, and it became a floodplain again in 2010. I mean, there's a reason why the Capitol's on a hill, and there's nothing on the east bank that's very old. And so we are going to have a lot of questions in the council to make sure that everybody understands how flooding will be managed.
The mayor says the new stadium will be built with funds that can't be used for anything else other than building the stadium, and it won't be built on the backs of Metro taxpayers and Metro families. Is he right?
I don't think so. It defies logic to have the biggest public spending in the history of America on a stadium and say that it doesn't impact taxpayers. And in addition to the $2 billion, the city is talking about spending hundreds of millions of dollars to build the infrastructure for the new neighborhood, and that definitely gets paid for by what the mayor calls the general taxpayer.
The mayor also justifies this by saying that this gets Metro out of the business of operating and managing and having to pay for the improvements of the current. Right now, we're not only the owner of it, we have to do all the improvement. And right now, this all in the future that would be done in the new stadium in a brand new situation for that. I mean, it won't be covered by what Metro won't have to pay for that.
PR, flack, BS is what that is. future capital improvements for a new stadium will be paid for with sales tax dollars, state sales tax, local sales tax. The Titans will administer it, and the term that they're using now is that the Titans will backstop that. So if there was a big expense for upkeep, like the scoreboard was a total bust and had to be replaced 2 years in, the Titans might have to spend money on that. But the entire goal of this deal is to make it so there's a giant pile of sales tax money stockpiled for capital improvements.
But the council hired a consultant about this to make sure that this was a better deal, not to renovate Nissan Stadium, but instead build a new one. And they sort of came back, at least with their preliminary things that the mayor announced the other day from their preliminary findings. That's right, that we'd be better off to build a new stadium. Did they kind of hijack your study?
Well, I don't know how it ended up getting spun as the council study. The council appropriated money for it, but the mayor hired the consultant, and the consultant reports to the mayor's office, and I think the mayor's office knows what the results are, and we haven't seen the report yet.
Bob Mendes, thank you so much for being on the program. I suspect this will be an issue we'll be talking about for several months to come, if not years.
I'm sure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. We'll be back here again for a future show. If you're going to pause in the meantime, go to the Channel 5 website. You'll find my account with new commentary there. New commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye.
From the News Channel 5 network, this is Inside Politics.